All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is December 9th, 2022. If you listen to the sound of my voice, that means you were blessed to see another day. And for that, all praise, honor, and glory is due to the Most High God of Israel. All right, welcome. Welcome to our new subscribers and old and new alike. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell and select all so you'll be notified every time I upload a new presentation. Okay, what I'm bringing forth today and what inspired the lesson today is that, so many times I've seen and heard or read where the detractors of Israelites would say there was never any mummies or any bones found of the great men of the Bible the great prophets of the Most High God. And that's just really simply not true. Now, keep in mind that what the area known as Palestine today, if anything from Israelite is over in Palestine today, you have to remember it wasn't always Palestine. The Arab Muslims kind of occupy that now, but Palestine is ancient Judea. Okay, keep that in mind. Right? When I bring this lesson forth, the powers that be, in Israel today, they don't have an incentive to prove that one way or another that they may have found the tomb of Yeshua Hamashiach, Jesus the Christ, right? But if you look at the facts surrounding the ossuary they found with his name on it, Yeshua Bar Yosef, or Jesus son of Joseph, the back in those days they put families in certain ossuaries and certain tombs because they would put the bones in these little ossuaries or whatever. Well, the people that were included in the ossuary with this Yeshua Bar Yosef, I mean, the odds of it being a whole different family than Jesus is just really extremely high. And keep in mind, rather this could potentially be Yeshua's ossuary and his family tomb. Where they found this particular ossuary was different from every other tomb over in Israel. So anyway, I'm going to try to see if I can find the whole documentary, but I definitely included a piece in this segment and a lot of other great men, Israelite men, and their tombs and where they're located, because I've never heard or seen anyone talk about the tombs of any great men of the Bible. So that made me start really researching that, and this is what I found. So anyway, I hope you all enjoy the presentation. Until next time, it's Dr. Ephraim signing off.
Um, what I'm going to talk about today is that one of the things that a lot of Israelite detractors used to say, especially those so-called Egyptologists, is that there were no there was never any bones or mummies found of great men of God, or these great Israelite men of Torah, of the Bible, because they would always find these Egyptian mummies and stuff like that. So that was one of their points of contentions, that like where were these men buried at, and I never really heard anyone adequately respond to those guys either. But I'm gonna tell you what inspired this lesson, and I'm going to let you guys kind of check out the a snippet I put together of this documentary that I actually saw many years ago. It's called "The Lost Tomb of Jesus," or whatever. And man, it angered me. It angered me then. It still angers me of what they did. Those Israelites over there. I'm sorry. Those Israelis over there. In the land. I'll just say that. Basically, what they did is they found a tomb, an ancient Israelite tomb. And in the tomb they had basically what was considered like small coffins of the family in that tomb. And in that tomb, those coffins, they actually had names on them, and those names were Mary, Joseph, and the one that got everyone in the uproar was Yeshua Bar Yosef, or Jesus, son of Joseph. And what I can't believe, to this day, it was back in 1980, and to this day I can't believe what they did. They cemented the tomb up. They took the bones out, cemented the tomb, and built and basically build apartments on top of them. Like, I mean, just no respect at all. No, I mean, just no regard, right? And you try to downplay this and that. You know, I mean, I really want y'all to check that out. But that's what inspired this lesson. I'm going to go into. I'm going to use scripture. Okay. There actually are places of rest for a lot of the great men and some of the women of the Bible. And their tombs. They actually have tombs, but you never hear about it, right? You never hear anyone talk. Because let me tell you something real quick before I get into the little presentation I put together about the lost tomb of Jesus. If those people that are in power now in Israel, if they were to take those bones that they're finding of the ancient Israelites and start doing DNA tests. See, of course they want to hide those. They want to downplay. They want to throw it away or you just suppress it, because that's hardcore DNA genetic bone and archaeological evidence of their trickery, basically, right? So yeah, of course they want to downplay it, but that's what sparked and inspired this particular lesson. So I'm gonna let you check out the this little deal I put together with the lost tomb of Jesus, man, and I just can't believe they did what they did. And then I'm gonna give my commentary, and we're gonna get on with the lessons. Let's get it.
In the spring of 1980 in Talpiot, South Jerusalem, construction blasting exposed the entrance to a burial tomb. It was 2,000 years old.
הבן שלי מגיע, הוא הגיע בריצה הביתה. אמא, הבונים רוצים להרוס מערת גבורה שמצאו. אז התחלתי להתקשר לכל מיני ארכיאולוגים שחיפשתי דרך הטלפון, וזה כמעט לא היה אף אחד. המשטרה כדי לעצור את הפיצוצים. העובדים הלכו הביתה, כי גם זה היה אחד.
On the Sunday morning, under pressure from contractors, a team of archaeologists was called in to excavate. They had only 3 days before the tomb was to be sealed and cemented over.
I could see this large slope with tractors and bulldozers and trucks trundling in different directions. And right in the center of this slope was this gaping hole, which turned out to be the entrance to the Talpiot tomb.
Above the entrance was a unique facade, a carefully crafted chevron and circle that mystified the archaeologists.
There's no doubt about it that those symbols which are on the facade of the Talpiot tomb meant something. It's unlikely that the person or the family that came to carve out the tomb just carved these things at random. They had to symbolize something. What they symbolize, I don't know, but it's quite rare to find that kind of ornamentation on a simple tomb.
Shimon Gibson, a young surveyor at the time, was one of the first inside. It was his job to record the layout.
It was great. It was very exciting. Me entering into the tomb, which is being cut into rock. It has a central chamber. It has arcosolia benches in the walls for the laying out of bodies. It has these loculi extending in different directions. It was incredibly important to get as much archaeological detail as possible onto plans.
Gibson's detailed plan recorded every inch of the tomb's interior. Extending out from a large inner chamber were 6 deep cavities called loculi, or kohim in Hebrew. And inside these kohim, the archaeologists found 10 small limestone coffins, also called ossuaries. The ossuaries were quickly transferred to Jerusalem's Rockefeller Museum under the direction of the Israel Department of Antiquities. The bones and remains found inside were bagged and boxed and put aside for reburial.
Certain decisions were made by the Israel Antiquities Authority that they would heed to the requests of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in Jerusalem and give over bone material which had been analyzed and examined by anthropologists for reburial.
And then they began the process of cataloging the ancient bone boxes. By 1980, over 1,000 ossuaries had been found, but only 20% of them bore the names of the dead. Here it was discovered that 6 out of the 10 ossuaries had inscriptions.
They are not monumental inscriptions. They're not intended to be seen and viewed by everybody, and they're not there to commemorate the dead. They are there so that when family members come in and start shifting the boxes around so they can put a new one in, they know which one is which and which belongs to who.
The archaeological record shows that the custom of using ossuaries for burial in Jerusalem only lasted for about 100 years, ending around 70 of the Common Era when Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. And so the discovery of inscriptions on stone coffins like these provide archaeologists with a catalog of names specific to the time of Jesus. And on one of the ossuaries discovered in the Talpiot tomb, written in Aramaic, was an astonishing name: Yehoshua bar Yosef.
Yeshua, or Jesus, son of Joseph. Yeshua bar Yosef. Now, when this was found, I think the archaeologists weren't too excited about it. The public would have been very excited, but they didn't hear about it. You found a Jesus, son of Joseph ossuary? But it wasn't really talked about.
Today, the Jesus, son of Joseph ossuary is in the hands of the Israel Antiquities Authority, or IAA, as are the rest of the stone coffins taken from the Talpiot tomb. Most of them have been locked away and stored in this massive warehouse. But why? We've assembled a team of scientists, scholars, and journalists to investigate the 10 ancient bone boxes and to find out why they've been ignored.
This is it. Felix?
Yeah.
This one is 543. This is it. This is it. Jesus, son of Joseph.
Today, it takes an expert in ancient writing like world-renowned Harvard professor Frank Moore Cross to examine the inscription. Because even though it is one of the plainest ever found on an ossuary, its letters are so informal that it's very difficult to read.
This being quite informal, and this particular one quite messy.
Academics describe it as a graffiti, so cursory it's almost as if it was meant to be read only by intimate family.
There's an X here before the name, and then the name Yeshua, then the father's name is perfectly clear, Yehosef, the son of Joseph. I have no real doubt that this is to be read Yeshua, and then Yeshua bar Yehosef, that is Jesus, son of Joseph.
Jesus, son of Joseph. Professor Cross's examination of the photograph has now shown us exactly what to look for on the actual coffin.
Yud Vav Shin Ein.
Yud, Shin, Vav, Ayin, Jesus. Bet, Resh, son of. Yud, He, Vav, Samech, Pei, Joseph.
Jesus, son of Joseph.
It's quite amazing, eh?
Amazing is not the word for it.
Can this stone...
Yeah, wow, so much to unpack with that. First off, let me just point out the glaring obvious fact, one of them at least, is that we definitely now have, and actually have had for quite a while, archaeological proof of what Jesus' actual name was. And like I contended all along, it's Yeshua. It's Yeshua, okay, or Yeshua. Both the same. Okay, we now have archaeological proof of what his name was, or what his name is. Not trying to, really get into that, but I mean, it's just what it is, right? You won't find the name Yeshaya nowhere in ancient Israel. You won't find the name Yehoshua nowhere in ancient Israel. I mean, it's just facts. So now we have proof of that. So that's that. It's just so much, man, that about this story. First of all, if y'all want to see the actual documentary, just do a search for it on YouTube. Put in, lost tomb, I'm sorry, of Jesus, full documentary. It'll come right up. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. I just kind of put together a like a little, kind of a little snippet and montage, if you will, kind of pair it up the words with some of the screenshots, whatever, just to give you a gist of what I was trying to do and trying to, bring across whatever. But I mean, yeah, man. I mean, that was some foul stuff, man. I mean, I'm just, nothing surprises me anymore. I mean, are you even kidding me right now? Like, I mean, wow, you find an ancient Israelite tomb, right, of a family in the tomb, and the names of the person in those ossuaries or in those small coffins are all the people that are associated with the man known as Jesus, and then you just kind of just suppress that. Like, that is just crazy to me. Talking about you're gonna bury the bones, and I mean, just no kind of respect whatsoever. I mean, first of all, why are they even talking about this? Why are the converts given so much? I mean, I get it. I'm asking. I'm not like literally asking, but I'm just saying, what's the word? It's just rhetorical. I'm asking rhetorically, right? I understand they're in power now. They're making all of the choices, the decisions, the antiquity, Israeli antiquity. Like, man, like, are you even serious? If they let me tell you something. If they started doing DNA tests on those bones that they find in those ancient Israelite ossuaries, I promise you, my people, they will find that those people are us. They don't want to find that. They don't want that. So those Israeli groups and stuff, they didn't kick up a bunch of dust because they're disturbing the dead. They're kicking up dust because they didn't want them uncovering all that genetic and archaeological proof that they're a bunch of fakers, right? So that's what that's about. But it's just so much with that, man. You guys can comment on it, on in the comment section. But it was a whole lot to unpack, with that segment. So anyway, that's what actually inspired me to do this lesson on some of the great men and women of Scripture, and where are they buried? Do we have proof of their existence? And do they have tombs? Well, yeah, actually they do. Now, there's a few of them, and when I'll kind of go over that, where it's kind of questionable because their tomb is allegedly a couple of different places. But there are a few that are very, very, very adamant and very sure of the resting place of a few of the great men of God and the great Israelite men of the Bible. So, that being said, let's get on with the presentation. Okay, what you're looking at, brothers and sisters, is called, well, that building, it looks like a building to us, right? But actually, it's that building is called the Cave of the Patriarchs. All right. Now, many of you probably just heard that term for the first time, and I'm going to go into a little ancient, biblical of how it got that and who's there, right? So let's deal with the latter first, real quick. All right, they said that this is one of the most famous pieces of real estate on earth, and it's called the Cave of the Machpelah, also known as the Cave of the Patriarchs, in the southern Israeli city of Hebron. Machpelah means doubled in Hebrew. One reason given is that 4 prestigious couples, and you might have heard of them, are buried there. Adam and Eve, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah. It said Rachel is buried elsewhere. Why? Maybe I'll find out later or something. But pretty amazing, right? Many of you probably right now to that at that very moment I called those names, probably never even knew that there was a tomb where those people of the Bible were actually buried. Yeah, and like I said, you never hear about it. No one ever talks about it. No one ever gives any lesson or brings any any attention to it. 'Cause a lot of people keep especially when people start talking about how people of the Bible are fictitious and this and that, whatever. Nah, we actually have tombs. Where a lot of these people are buried. The cave of the patriarchs, also referred to as the tomb of the patriarchs, are known to the Jews as the cave of the Machpelah, and to Muslims as the sanctuary of Abraham. Al-Haram, Ibrahimi, is a series of caves situated 30 kilometers, 19 miles south of Jerusalem, in the heart of the old city Hebron, in the West Bank. According to the Abrahamic religions, the cave and adjoining field were purchased. I'll get into that in the next segment. Purchased by Abraham as a burial plot. Although archaeologists have been unable to prove that Abraham existed, would y'all get off of it already, man? I mean, enough with the prove this, to prove that. We got all kinds of proof, and y'all still want to talk mess, basically. Enough with the proof. Ah, man, stuff is annoying, man. Over the cave stands a large rectangular enclosure dating from the Herodian era, during the Byzantine rule of the region. A basilica was built on the site. The structure was converted into the Ibrahimi Mosque following the Muslim conquest of the Levant. By the 12th century, the mosque and its surrounding regions had fallen under Crusader state control, but were retaken in 1188 by the Ayyubid Sultan Saladin, who again converted the structure into a mosque. During the Six-Day War of 1967, the entire Jordanian-occupied West Bank was seized and occupied by the State of Israel, after which the structure was divided into a synagogue and a mosque. In 1994, the Cave of the Patriarchs massacre occurred at the Abrahami Mosque, in which an armed Israeli settler entered the complex on the Jewish holiday of Purim, which had occurred during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, and opened fire on Palestinian Muslims who had gathered to pray at the site, killing 29 people, including children, and wounding over 125. The site is considered to be the second holiest place in Judaism after the Temple Mount in the Old City of Jerusalem. Now, let's go into a little ancient Israel history and find out how that cave came into being. All right, Israel. Let's let the Torah speak as far as how did this cave of patriarchs come into being. According to Genesis 23, 1 through 20, Abraham's wife Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, near Hebron, in the land of Canaan, at the age of 127, being the only woman in the Bible whose exact age is given, while Abraham is tending to business elsewhere. Abraham comes to mourn for her. After a while, he stands up and speaks to the sons of Heth. He tells them that he is a foreigner in their land and requests that they give him a burial site so that he can bury his dead. The Hittites flatter Abraham, call him a lord and mighty prince, and say that he can bury his dead in any of their tombs. Abraham does not take them up on their offer, and instead asks them to contact Ephraim the Hittite, the son of Zohar, who lives in Mamre and owns the cave of Machpelah, which he is offering to buy for the full price. Ephraim slyly replies that he is prepared to give Abraham the field and the cave within it. knowing that it would not result in Abraham having a permanent claim to it. Abraham politely refuses the offer and insists on paying for the field. Ephraim replies that the field is worth 400 shekels of silver, and Abraham agrees to the price without any further bargaining. He then proceeded to bury his dead wife Sarah there. The burial of Sarah is the first account of a burial in Torah. The Abraham's purchase of Machpelah is the first commercial transaction mentioned. The next burial in the cave is that of Abraham himself, who at the age of 175 years was buried by his sons Isaac and Ishmael. The title deed to the cave was part of the property of Abraham that passed to his son Isaac. The third burial was that of Isaac by his two sons, Esau and Jacob, who died when he was 180 years old. There is no mention of how or when Isaac's wife Rebekah died, but she is included in the list of those that have been buried in the cave of patriarchs. In Jacob's final words to the children of Israel, Jacob himself died at the age of 147 years. In the final chapter of Genesis, Joseph had his physicians embalm his father Jacob before they removed him from Egypt, be buried in the cave of the field of Machpelah. When Joseph died in the last verse, he was also embalmed. He was buried much later in Shechem, after the children of Israel came into the promised land. So there you have it. Abraham, the patriarch, father of many nations, he's the one that purchased this cave of patriarchs. Now, it just doesn't say how Adam and Eve is in this cave. But I'm not going to really dig too deep into that. Maybe another time. But apparently they're there in this cave as well. So we're going to leave that there because I'm going to go over a few of the other tombs of the great men, Israelites of the Bible, and where their tombs are located, where they lay to rest at, and of course And of course, the very first one I'm going to do is, you guessed it, Joshua, Yehoshua, my namesake. Let's get it. Yeah, the original Yehoshua and I share several parallels. Of course, being of Ephraim is but one of many of those parallels. But it says, of all the major figures of the Exodus period, Joshua was the last survivor. His life and death in the 14th century BC marked the end of Jewish prehistory and the beginning of the Israelite nation. His tomb was the last major shrine associated with the Exodus to be constructed. It has the distinction of being one of the most reliably known tombs from the pre-kingdom era, and is thus one of the oldest pilgrimage sites in Israel. Since the final resting place of Moses was not known with certainty and the tombs of Aaron and Miriam were far away, it was and still is one of the most popular sacred places related to the Exodus. Joshua, or Yehoshua, was a popular leader and possibly the prince of the tribe of Ephraim, at the time of the Exodus, a prominent figure in the flight from bondage and subsequent conquest of Canaan, which was Israel. He is arguably the third most important figure in the book of Exodus after Moses and Aaron. He was one of Moses' chief followers from the beginning and was the only person to accompany him up onto Mount Sinai when God bestowed the 10 Commandments on the Israelite prophet. Joshua's service became even more important during the 40-year sojourn in the wilderness. He served as both a military commander and a spy for the Israelites. Along with Caleb of the tribe of Judah, he advised the Israelites to invade Canaan from the south. Although they were voted down by the other tribes, it was their courage and leadership at this time which later led to the preeminence of the tribes of Ephraim and Judah. Throughout the rest of their lives, the two men were both friends and rivals, though Joshua was always the more prominent of the pair. Just before Moses died upon Mount Nebo, it was Joshua and not Caleb that he chose to lead the people into Canaan. The subsequent military campaigns of Joshua in Canaan, have since become legendary, beginning with his miraculous triumph over the mighty city of Jericho. That's when time stood still. It stayed day all night. That was the first time ever that happened. Joshua spent the remainder of his years conquering the petty kingdoms of Canaan, dividing the lands among the Israelite tribes, and overseeing the settlement of the cities of the territory of Ephraim. He established his own home at the Timnath Hades. There, he later died and was buried in what was probably Israel's first state funeral. As much as Moses was the savior of the Israelites from their bondage in Egypt, Joshua was the great hero who united the people and established Israel as a nation. His tomb became a revered place and was remembered and visited by pilgrims, even in later years when the other great holy cities of Ephraim had waned in importance. The ancient town of Timnath Hades, now the Palestinian city of Kifi Hades, still receives many visitors at what is arguably the greatest surviving shrine of the Exodus period. The tomb of Joshua is a surprisingly unassuming place, occupying only a small street corner in the middle of downtown Kifi Hades. It can be easily mistaken for a walled compound of a typical residence of the neighborhood, such as might belong to a local middle-class citizen. Unfortunately, this sacred Jewish site is usually best recognized by the Arabic graffiti, which is usually scrawled all over the outer walls. The main building is a very simple affair, a white structure with a small dome, reminiscent of the tomb of Rachel in Bethlehem. So Rachel is buried in Bethlehem. The grave of Joshua, or the tomb of Joshua, and possibly several other prominent Exodus leaders lie beneath the dome. The town of Kifi Hades is located in the Palestinian territory not too far from the Tel Shiloh, about 20 miles north of Jerusalem. Because of its location, the tomb of Joshua has had difficulties during the last few decades. The site has been vandalized on a number of occasions, and the few Jewish pilgrims that still trickle in often come in the company of Israeli soldiers. As of this writing, no other visitor information was available. See, and that should tell the Arab Palestinians something. Not getting into that, but the fact that that's where Joshua is buried. That's Joshua's tomb, Yehoshua's tomb. That land was called Judea back in the day. That's what that land belongs to. Okay, straight up and down. So anyway, I'm not going to really get into that, but y'all know what it is. So next up, let's deal with Judah. Let's see where Judah's tomb is located, where he's buried at. Okay. Yeah, not a whole lot is given about Judah's tomb, other than the fact that this is his tomb we're looking at, and he's buried in Yehud in Israel. All right. So I'm going to do a few more. King David is up next, and a couple more after that, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring it to a close. I'll give you guys a link if you want to research some other tombs of men of the Bible, of Torah specifically. All right, King David's tomb. Apparently, the general consensus, I've seemed to have seen this more often than not, that a lot of so-called historians and researchers, etc., don't necessarily believe that. Even though the Bible tells us where King David is buried and where he died or whatever, Mount Zion, Jerusalem. I would have no reason not to believe that he's not. Mount Zion. Like, are you serious? But y'all know how it goes. I mean, people can say whatever. They can. It's always going to be detractors. Oh, we can't prove this. We can't prove that. To get on my doggone nerves with all that, but. Supposedly this is where King David's tomb is buried. This is where he's located, and his burial site is Mount Zion. All right, and this is the tomb of Simeon, one of Jacob's 12 sons, and obviously one of the leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel, and he is buried in Kibbutz Ayal, Israel. So that's Simeon's tomb. All right, and this is Reuben's burial place. All right, obviously one of Jacob's sons, and maybe we should go in there and get the bones and see if he's Native American. Nah, I'm playing. I'm playing, man. Let's dig him up, man, and see if he's if he got Native American DNA. You know what I mean? Since that 12 tribe chart said that he's Reuben is I think what the Seminole Indians, I think one of them Indian groups. They said Reuben is. let's dig him up, man. But no, that's Reuben is buried. That's his tomb, and he's laid to rest at Nabai Reuben Pal Machim, Israel. All right, our brother Reuben. Moving right along. Okay, I think I'm gonna let you all do for some further digging if you guys want to see a bunch of the other men of God and men of the Bible, Torah specifically, and Tanakh that actually have tombstones and are buried. It's pretty interesting and pretty fascinating. What I think is really interesting and not necessarily good or bad is that the fact that the Shemitic Ishmaelites, kind of lay claim to certain areas or whatever, and of course to take ownership of certain prophets, which I guess it's okay, but it's just kind of like I don't know, something about an Israelite being laid to rest in a country not Israel. I just doesn't really sit well with me, but I don't know. I mean, I guess anything is possible, but I doubt it. But a few of them are. You guys can go check it out. As a matter of fact, just go ahead and Google what's that term? Give me 1 second. Google list of burial places of Abrahamic figures, and I'll bring up a whole big list and of biblical figures and stuff, and their tombstones, where they're located. I just, I guess I felt I was inspired to do this lesson because no one really ever has, for all the blowback talking about, biblical characters are fictitious. They can't prove this. They can't prove that. Well, for a lot of so-called fictitious characters that they can't prove actually exist, they just show a lot of tombstones. I'm just saying, and I guess short of maybe going in there and unearthing the bones. Listen, we didn't mummify our people, so that's just what it is. Either you're going to believe or you're not, right? The Bible is pretty explicit in a lot of the men of God who died and where they died, and even where some of them are buried. So that's what it is. That's the blueprint. So anyway, you guys have that, man. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoy the lesson. If you want to do a little more digging, that doesn't hurt, right? But no one ever really addressed this, for all the detractors we get, and those characters in the Bible ain't real, and where they at, where they're buried, where this and that. Yeah, well, there you go. And even with that, some probably still won't even believe, right? But listen, if you're not going to believe, you're pretty much just not going to be inclined to believe, no matter what's presented to you. Okay, they can go in there and unearth the bones of Abraham and Sarah, all these great people from the Bible, and you still would find something to say about that or whatever. So, it is what it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. It was pretty interesting to do, and write your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. Like it, share it, and definitely subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you can hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video, a new lesson, or a No Real Talk Tuesday episode. All right, well, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off until next time, saying Ahaya Bayashim, Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai, Shabbat Shalom, elect.